Here with us is federal criminal defense attorney Ronald Chapman and former professional football player and current sports analyst Lester Ricard Jr. Gentlemen, good morning. Ronald, welcome back. Nice to see both of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Ronald, I will start with you. NBA Hall of Famer, mafia, underground gambling. It is all the ingredients you need for a great movie. What was the most surprising aspect of this case to you?
That it was charged in the first place. I mean, let's not talk about the poker because that's a whole different story, but the idea that now we have the Department of Justice standing in for the bookies and criminalizing the use of non-public information as if there's an SEC controlling sports gambling is something that's incredibly foreign to me. They had an opportunity to regulate this industry. It hasn't been regulated, but bringing charges so quickly because of the use of information and in this sort of wild space of sports betting is something that people didn't really have notice of and shouldn't have been criminalized in the first place. So speaking outside of the gambling indictments, I'm surprised that there are 37 people that are wrapped up in this use of non-public information that have now been indicted.
Lester, we heard from NBA Commissioner Adam Silver last night about the league's investigation into Rozier. He said this quote, "We frankly couldn't find anything. Terry at the time cooperated. He gave the league office his phone. He sat down for an interview. We ultimately concluded that there was insufficient evidence despite the aberrational behavior to move forward. He still has not been convicted of anything," end quote. How much are you buying into the notion, Lester, that the NBA took this investigation seriously?
I believe they took it seriously. Listen, the FBI versus the NBA and how they can investigate and interrogate witnesses is completely. They have two different levels that they can go about this. But I'm not shocked by this. And what's crazy, obviously, we talk about the number of Terry Rozier's contract. A guy who's making $27 million a year. What are you doing betting on something that's going to change the line $13,000 possibly for your own pockets? But if you, at some point, across all the major sports, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, you're going to find more players upon some of these new investigations with the FBI who are taking games. Because some of the acts that you see some of these players partaking in some of these athletic competitions is strange. And if you go back and look at the game in particular with the Charlotte Hornets, some of his turnovers, his moods, his lack of effort, it was appalling. And so I'm hoping that we can get past this. But just like he said, once they allowed gambling in sports, we knew these type of things were going to happen because there was no regulations. There were nobody who was overwatching it and paying attention to the details. And so here we are. And I think more is going to come out in the future.
I was just going to say, Lester, from hearing you think this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, these guys get in bed with some of the most egregious people in this world, okay? The mafia, some of these third-party gambling agencies, how fantasy football players can bet on, fans can bet on that. It's a lot of things that once they start unpeeling this ugly world that we call gambling, it's going to get bad across all major sports, I believe.
Yeah, I've heard that across many industries when it comes to sports. Ron, from a legal standpoint, was there anything more the league could have done once those suspicious bets were initially flagged?
I'm not so sure that the league could because they lack the regulatory power. I mean, remember, the league is a business. It's not a governmental entity. They do the best that they can, just like any business that might find out that there's misconduct. And normally you have a duty not to participate in the conduct. But the idea that you are forced to investigate and uncover some wrongdoing or a perceived wrongdoing, that's a difficult question there. And here's the reality. This is not just going to be cabined to sports. Think about this. The use of inside information to determine which cow you should purchase at the auction. The use of inside information for anything in life could be treated the same way, which gives the Department of Justice the power to determine whether or not something is fraudulent simply based on whether or not they want to charge it. And that's a very, very difficult position for people in the United States to be in because without regulations, we sort of do our best. Now, that's not to excuse the use of inside information. We hope that people act the right way, but there's a difference between morality and crime. And the difference there is whether or not people have been put on notice that something is considered criminal activity.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.